The power of USP Data to work with your lists. That's your own lists of data of companies that are of interest to you, perhaps from an association list or from your own research or from any source that you have. You can combine it with the selections, the industry selections, with keyword selections, and then you can refine it using geographic and financial criteria. So what I'm going to do is pop the data from my own list, which I'm going to import into the system from a spreadsheet, which is currently on my desktop. So there's the spreadsheet columns, and what I'm going to do is match up by dragging and dropping the company name field, and I'm going to then import that data. There's the 79 records, and all I've got so far is the company name. So within USP, there's an automatic lookup which looks up the alpha key of the company name that you've selected, and then finds the company number using the alpha key of the company's house data. You can also refine this. So at the moment we're at a rather unrealistic 97% match. But ones that it didn't find, you'll see are blank. And what you can do is drill down by double-clicking, find the company you want by using other searches. You can do all sorts of keyword or alpha key searches. You can search for directors and so on. Find the company that you want, double-click to accept it, and then it brings it back with the company number. And that link is now made and the match rate has increased. So you can essentially allocate a company number to your listing, and depending on how good your listing is in terms of company's house match, you'll get a reasonable rate out of USP with a bit of work. So then you can save this list into a new project. So I'm going to call this 101 test list. Okay, just for the sake of this demo. So that's it gone. You'll see this went blue. That means it's gone to the CRM. So in the CRM, there's my project 101 test list. I can select this. There's the 79 contacts that I found, and you'll see that they're all matched. And in fact, I could start maintaining them as in a CRM system. I could start adding personal details and so on and so on. Using this as a simple CRM and organize, programmed events such as, letters on particular days and so on and so on. But what I'm going to do is a bit more useful than that in this case. I'm going to use that listing to start working on adding and building my own list using USP Data. So in the sector selector, you'll see that there is an option here for projects, and there's my 101 test list. I can add that across into a new search, which we're going to call, in this case, test 101. Okay, so if I add that across, then I find that I've got the 78 companies that it did find company numbers for, and I'm now looking. So if I click twice here, there's the 78 companies, and it's found various bits of data for them. So using those companies and the facilities of USP, I can now add, for example, a standard report, such as, let's say, for the sake of argument, a small report like Admiralty Chart Agents. I can just add the companies that are in that, and then that's the total number of companies so far. I can do keyword searches. I could put insurance here and brokers there, pick the middle, and that would give me all the insurance brokers. Add that to the report, and so on. I can add existing searches that I've already done and saved. So here's, I don't know, there's a search there that I did on occupational healthcare at some point in the past. And I can add the companies that I found there. So I'm now building up this list of companies that are in my particular list of interest. And then I can insist on having certain companies by name. So if I wanted, for example, to add the Shell Chemical companies, I could do a search for Shell Chemical. It finds 5 companies. I can select them all. I can add them and then save them into the report that I'm building. So that has added those 5 companies, and those companies will always be on my list. So irregardless of the financial and geographic criteria, the shell companies will always be there. And the other thing I can do is at any point I can do a refinement of the list by just exposing who's there so far, and then saying, well, I don't really want that one, or that one, or that one. So having read the business description, for example, or some other aspect of decision making to decide why I didn't want that particular company. So you get the idea that essentially you can start manipulating the list. So we're at 140 companies now that meet to those requirements and that I definitely want. And then I can start saying, well, okay, of those companies, which of them are within, let's say, 67 miles of this postcode. So if I added that criterion across, I can narrow down the companies to a smaller subset of the companies. So there's a lot of companies within 67 miles of this particular postcode, and there's 42 of the ones that I've selected so far that match that particular, that are within that postcode. And then I can say, well, okay, of those, I'm only interested in the ones that have, I don't know, between 10 and 20 employees. So I can add that criteria. So you get the idea that you can essentially add financial, geographic criteria against lists that you built up using your own listings, the selections that are already made for standard reports, SIC reports, previously saved reports of your own, and you can insist that certain companies are included in your report. And then once you've, and essentially what you're doing is you're building an intersection between the various selections. So this is sort of color coded just to give you an overview of how important. Obviously, there's lots and lots of geographic companies there, and very, very few within the industry sectors that interested me. But once I've got my listing and it's looking right, which I would advise, certainly if you're going to use keywords, perusing the list in the list view, you can save it, and it will generate a report in the standard format for you. Or you can, so if I save that there, that will appear on the workspace, which I'll show you in a moment. And the other thing I can do is I can expose the list I've got so far, which is the 7 or 9 companies or so, and I can save that as a project in the CRM, and I can come back to that list and work on it again later. The advantage of that is that when I then apply criteria against it, the shell companies will be passing that criteria or not as well. So if we go to the home page, the dashboard, you can see that the result of creating a report is to add it to this list of saved searches that I've previously done. And when I've got it as a saved search, what I find is that I can click on it to move it to the download reports area, and then I can download whichever part of the report I want in PDF form, the whole thing, just the averages or just the rankings, in spreadsheet form, the associated parts. Or I can create a mailing list here. For example, I can pick the director with the largest number of shares would be my first choice of director to write to. Any director with shares would be my second choice to write to, and perhaps the oldest director. So I just reorder them into the order that I want, select them to make sure it knows that that's an important one to me. And then when I press this here, it will send me that contact listing. Hopefully that shows you the main points of USP. Thank you.